Good afternoon and welcome to the Public Service Commission of South Carolina. We are here today in docket 2022-362-T. Let's take a roll call of commissioners. With us virtually, we have Commissioner Irvin, Commissioner Caston, Commissioner Thomas. Present in the hearing room, we have Commissioner Justin Williams, Vice Chair Powers, Commissioner Carol Lee Williams, and Chair Belser. We'll recognize our staff counsel, Mr. Stark, to read the docket, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair and other commissioners, we're here for the proceeding in docket number 2022-362-T. This proceeding concerns the petition of the Office of Regulatory Staff to revoke certificates of public convenience and necessity of certain motor carriers for failure to file annual reports and/or gross receipts for 2022. Madam Chair, this proceeding was scheduled for today, Thursday, January 26, 2023. I believe the matter to be prepared for hearing.
Thank you, Mr. Stark. Let's take appearance of counsel. Who is appearing for the Office of Regulatory Staff?
Madam Chair Belser, Donna Rainey, on behalf of ORS.
Thank you, Ms. Rainey. And are there any responding parties present? I will note for the record there are no other parties present in the hearing room. Ms. Rainey, are you ready to proceed?
Yes, Chair Belser.
Please call your first witness.
Madam Chair Belser, ORS calls Mr. Thomas McGill to the stand.
Mr. McGill, would you come forward and to the table? And I tell you, before you're seated, would you raise your right hand? You want to, and thank you, Mr. McGill. Ms. Rainey, you may proceed.
Good afternoon, Mr. McGill. Would you please state your name, business address, and occupation for the record?
Yes, ma'am. I am Thomas McGill. I am the Transportation Manager for the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff in the Broadband Communications and Safety Department.
Mr. McGill, I'm going to ask you to pull that microphone as close as you can or lean forward. I hate for you to be uncomfortable, but we do want to hear you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And Mr. McGill, what are your duties as it pertains to annual reports?
I or someone under my direction receive, review, and process all annual reports made by the transportation providers under the jurisdiction of the Commission.
And what are your duties concerning gross receipt filings?
I or someone under my direction receive, review, and process all gross receipt forms made by transportation providers under the jurisdiction of the Commission and monitor company compliance.
Mr. McGill, what's the purpose of today's proceeding?
On November 8th, 2022, the Office of Regulatory Staff filed a petition with this Commission to revoke certificates of public convenience and necessity of certain motor carriers for failure to file annual reports and/or gross receipts 2022. As of that date, each of the companies listed in Petition Exhibit A and Petition Exhibit B had not filed its annual report due on or before March 31st, 2022, and/or its gross receipt due by August 31st, 2022. As a result of the company's failure to comply with the statutes and regulations governing motor carriers, ORS petitioned the Commission to revoke their certificates, and the Commission set this hearing date.
Mr. McGill, do you have a copy of petition exhibits A, B, and C that were filed with the petition in this docket?
Yes.
Can you describe petition exhibits A, B, and C?
Yes. Petition Exhibit A, which was filed with the Commission on November 8th, 2022, details the carriers out of compliance with Commission rules and regulations for failure to file their annual reports as of November 8th, 2022. Petition Exhibit B, which was also filed with the Commission on November 8th, 2022, details the carrier's out of compliance with South Carolina statutes for failure to file its gross receipts as of that date. And Petition Exhibit C, which was also filed with the Commission on November 8th, 2022, is an affidavit where I affirm the results of my examination of motor carriers listed on Petition Exhibits A and B.
Madam Chair, I ask that the petition exhibits A, B, and C identified by Mr. McGill, filed with the petition in this docket, be entered into the record as the next hearing exhibit.
The exhibits A, B, and C attached to the petition filed November 8, 2022 will be marked for identification as hearing exhibit number 1 and received into the evidence of this case.
Thank you. Mr. McGill, do Commission transportation regulations and rules require carriers to file annual reports with the Commission and ORS?
Yes, Commission Regulation number 103-231 states that every motor carrier operating under a Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity and FWA shall file with the Commission and ORS on or before March 31st of each year, on forms prescribed and furnished by the Commission, an annual report for the preceding calendar year ending on June 30th.
Do South Carolina statutes require carriers to file gross receipts forms with the Commission and ORS as well?
Yes, pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated section 58-4-60, the expenses of the Transportation Department of ORS must be borne by the revenues from license fees derived pursuant to South Carolina Code annotated sections 58-23-530 through 58-23-630. Assessments to the transportation network companies pursuant to sections 58-23-1690 and 58-23-1700. And assessments to the carriers of household goods and hazardous waste for disposal carriers. The gross receipts forms are used to enable the South Carolina Department of Revenue to assess each of the household goods and hazardous waste carriers in proportion to its gross income from operating in South Carolina during the preceding year.
And Mr. McGill, have the certificated holders listed in petition exhibits A and B been afforded notice of this hearing?
Yes. A copy of the ORS petition in this case was mailed to each of the carriers listed in petition exhibits A and B by the ORS staff. Further, a copy of notice of hearing in this case was mailed to each of the parties or their registered agent named in the ORS petition by the Public Service Commission staff on November 15th, 2022.
And Mr. McGill, did you receive any responses to the petition?
Yes. Since the ORS petition in this case was filed, 5 carriers in Exhibit A have filed appropriate documentation with ORS, and 1 carrier was granted cancellation for their certificate. Additionally, ORS has received 1 response from the carriers listed in Exhibit B who requested and was granted cancellation of their certificate.
Mr. McGill, do you have a copy of revised petition exhibits A and B filed today, January 26, 2023 in this docket?
Yes, I have revised Exhibit A dated January 26th, 2023, which I prepared, and are the carriers which remain out of compliance with the Commission's annual report requirement. All of the carriers named on this list were also named in ORS Petition Exhibit A and have been notified by both ORS and the Public Service Commission staff that they have failed to file annual reports with ORS. However, 6 of the carriers have come into compliance with the petition and do not appear on revised Exhibit A.
Madam Chair, I do have copies of the revised petition exhibits if anyone would like a copy.
I think we all got them. Do y'all have them? I think we all have them.
Okay.
I think they were placed up here for us.
So, Mr. McGill, how many carriers are still on revised petition exhibit A?
There are 4 carriers that remain.
Okay. And You have a copy of petition, revised petition exhibit B, dated today. Can you explain, describe that exhibit for us?
Yes, I also have revised Exhibit B dated January 26th, 2023, which I prepared and are the carriers that remain out of compliance with the gross receipt requirement of the commission. All of those carriers were on the list also named in Petition Exhibit B and have been notified by both ORS and Public Service Commission staff that they have failed to file gross receipt forms with ORS. However, one of the carriers has come into compliance since the petition was filed and does not appear on revised Exhibit B.
So how many carriers remain on, revised petition, exhibit B?
There are 4 on that one as well.
Madam Chair, I ask that the revised petition exhibits A and B filed today, January 26, 2023, be marked and entered into the record as the next hearing exhibit.
Revised petition exhibits A and B dated January 26, 2023 will be marked as a composite exhibit as hearing exhibit number 2 and received into the evidence of the case.
Thank you. Mr. McGill, do you have any recommendations for the commission in this docket today?
Yes, ORS recommends that the commission revoke the certificates of those carriers listed on revised exhibits A and B for their failure to comply with commission rules and regulations and/or South Carolina statutes.
Does this conclude your testimony today?
Yes, it does.
Thank you. Madam Chair, Mr. McGill is available for any commissioner questions.
Thank you, Ms. Rainey. Commissioners, questions for Mr. McGill?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Irvin.
thank you. Mr. McGill, just so that we have a clear record, could you please go over the names of the companies that still remain on revised petition exhibit A for revocation?
Yes, sir. They are Blue Chip Moving Company, LLC, FCF Moving and Storage, LLC, DBA Good Greek Moving and Storage, Hilton Head Hauling Junk and Moving, LLC, DBA College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving, and finally, Move Myrtle Beach, LLC.
And is it your sworn testimony today that those named companies are not in compliance with the rules and regulations cited earlier? Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
And why is this list not in compliance?
Because these companies have failed to file their annual reports with the South Carolina Office of Regulatory Staff and the Public Service Commission.
Let's turn now our attention to revised petition exhibit B. This lists the companies that have failed to comply in what respect?
They have failed to file their gross receipts that are required per South Carolina statutes with the Office of Regulatory Staff.
And for the record, would you name the companies that are still on the revised exhibit B?
Yes, sir. They are Blue Chip Moving Company, LLC, FCF Moving and Storage, LLC, doing business as Good Greek Moving and Storage, Hilton Head Hauling Junk and Moving, LLC, doing business as College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving, and finally, Move Myrtle Beach, LLC.
And again, it's your sworn testimony that the names on revised exhibit A and revised exhibit B that you've just read into the record were all given proper notice by the Office of Regulatory Staff by mail. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. We email each company as well as mail the notice of the hearings as well, or the notice of the them not filing their records.
Thanks, sir. I have no further questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Irvin. Commissioners, any further questions? Mr. McGill, how are you this afternoon?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Mr. McGill, are you aware whether or not ORS had any mail returned as undelivered with regard to the 4 companies remaining on the list?
I believe we did have one for FCF Moving and Storage, LLC, but we also confirmed that they are no longer in operation.
And that was my next question. Has ORS done any outreach to determine whether any of these companies have ceased operations?
Again, it's my understanding that both FCF Moving and Storage LLC, doing business as Good Greek Moving and Storage, as well as Hilton Head Hauling Junk and Moving, doing business as College Hunks Hauling Junk and Moving, no longer are operating at all.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
No further questions. Commissioners, any further questions for Mr. McGill?
Chair Belser?
Commissioner Carolee Williams.
Mr. McGill, based on that conversation, that leads me to ask, what do we know about Blue Chip and Move Myrtle Beach? Those are the two that did not have returns, and you've not confirmed. So they're just not in compliance because they didn't provide the information.
Yes, ma'am, that's correct.
And do you believe they're still operating?
I don't have any reason to believe they are or are not.
Understood. Thank you for the clarification.
Absolutely.
Commissioners, anything further for this witness? Ms. Rainey, any redirect?
No redirect.
Okay, thank you. Mr. McGill, thank you for your testimony today. You may stand down.
Thank you.
Ms. Rainey, anything further?
No, that concludes ORS case.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, we will adjourn this meeting and notify y'all through a business meeting of when action is taken on this matter. Thank you very much. Have a good afternoon. We are adjourned.